In the early 1980s, Audi did the unthinkable. They used all-wheel drive to crash BMW's rear-wheel drive party and rewrote the rules of performance forever. If you're a fan of rally racing, you've probably heard of the Audi Quattro, the one car that was so dominant that it redefined the sport. But the story of Audi's revolutionary Quattro system begins not on a racetrack, but during a cold European winter in 1977. Deep in the Austrian Alps, Audi's engineers were testing the Volkswagen Iltis, a rugged four-wheel drive military vehicle known more for its utility than its speed. Among them was Jörg Bensinger, Audi's chassis development engineer. What struck him wasn't the Iltis's power or acceleration, it was its unshakable grip on icy, treacherous roads where traditional rear-wheel drive vehicles struggled. That moment sparked an idea that would eventually rewrite the rulebook for high-performance cars. Bensinger returned to Ingolstadt with a bold proposal. If a heavy military vehicle could achieve such traction with four-driven wheels, what would happen if Audi applied the same principle to a high-performance passenger car? At the time, all-wheel drive in road cars was virtually unheard of. It was seen as unnecessary weight and complexity, something better suited to trucks or off-roaders than sleek European coupes. Even within Audi, the idea was met with skepticism. But Ferdinand Piëch, Audi's head of technical development and a visionary in his own right, saw potential. What followed was an intense period of experimentation. Engineers took the 2.1-liter inline-5 turbocharged engine from the Audi 200 and combined it with a custom all-wheel drive drivetrain derived from the Iltis. The result was a prototype codenamed A1. But unlike the lumbering Iltis, this machine had agility, speed, and handling. Most importantly, it could channel power to all four wheels simultaneously without the bulk of a traditional four-wheel drive truck system, thanks to an ingenious center differential design that was both lightweight and efficient. The new system wasn't a temporary part-time solution either. It was permanent all-wheel drive, something almost unheard of in a performance car at the time. And it worked. Test drivers marveled at the grip, the acceleration out of corners, and the newfound confidence it inspired in wet, snowy, or loose surface conditions. Audi had quietly stumbled upon something that would change not only its future, but the future of performance driving altogether. In March 1980, Audi unveiled the Audi Quattro at the Geneva Motor Show. It looked like a sharper, more aggressive version of the Audi coupe, but beneath the surface, it was something entirely new. The Quattro packed 197 horsepower, but more importantly, it delivered that power to all four wheels, setting it apart from every other production car on the market. Audi initially planned to produce just 400 units to meet Group 4 rally homologation requirements, but the reception was so overwhelmingly positive that the company extended production well beyond those modest expectations. By the time the original Quattro was phased out in 1991, more than 11,000 units had been built. Audi's ambition for the Quattro wasn't limited to road performance. From the very beginning, the brand had its eyes on motorsport, specifically the World Rally Championship. Now at the time, rallying was dominated by rear-wheel drive cars, and many believed that four-wheel drive would be too complex, too heavy, and simply too unrefined for the demands of competitive racing. Audi was about to prove them all wrong. The Quattro made its WRC debut in 1981 at the Monte Carlo Rally, a high-profile stage that tested cars across tarmac, snow, and ice. Expectations were modest. This was, after all, Audi's first major foray into international rallying. But when Hannu Mikkola, one of Audi's lead drivers, stormed ahead in the early stages and dominated until mechanical issues took him out, the message was clear. The Quattro wasn't just competitive, it was revolutionary. Now, what set the Quattro apart was its ability to put power down where others couldn't. While rear-wheel drive cars struggled for grip on loose gravel or slippery snow, the Quattro's full-time all-wheel drive system allowed it to claw its way out of corners with stability and control. It made traditional rallying techniques like dramatic oversteering and constant countersteering almost obsolete. Where others slid, the Quattro stuck. Where others hesitated, it accelerated. By 1982, just a year after its debut, Audi secured its first WRC manufacturer's title. That same season, Michelle Morton, Audi's star female driver, made history by becoming the first woman to win a WRC event, taking first place at the Rally San Remo. Her victories, along with Michela's consistency and the raw pace of the Quattro, helped Audi break through motorsport's gender and technological boundaries all at once. Then came 1983. With the Quattro now refined and battle-tested, Hannu Michela clinched the WRC Drivers' Championship, proving that the previous season's success was no fluke. And if there were still any doubters left, 1984 silenced them all. Audi swept the series, securing both the drivers' and manufacturers' titles. Stig Blomqvist, another Scandinavian legend, dominated the season behind the wheel of the updated A2 and Sport Quattro, versions that featured more power, improved weight distribution, and better aerodynamics. But Audi wasn't done yet. Rallying's infamous Group B era had just begun, a no-holds-barred period in which manufacturers pushed performance to the absolute limit with barely any restrictions. Audi responded with the Sport Quattro S1, a shorter, more powerful beast with a turbocharged inline-5 engine, pushing over 470 horsepower, and an aggressive aero package that looked like it belonged on a spaceship. It was loud, raw, and dangerously fast. At the 1987 Pikes Peak International Hill Climb, German rally legend Walter Röhrl piloted the monstrous S1 to a groundbreaking win. The car screamed up the 12.4-mile mountain climb with unmatched fury, kicking up dust as it danced through hairpins and near-death drop-offs. That run wasn't just a victory, it was a statement of dominance. By this point, the rally world had changed. Audi's AWD formula had gone from curiosity to blueprint. Rivals like Lancia, Peugeot, and eventually Toyota followed suit, scrambling to develop their own all-wheel drive systems just to keep up. Rear-wheel drive was now obsolete in rallying, and the Quattro was the reason why. In just a few short years, Audi had gone from a brand with little motorsport pedigree to a WRC powerhouse that had redefined rally car engineering. The Quattro wasn't just winning races, it was rewriting the rules of what a performance car could be, both on gravel and asphalt. In the early 1980s, if you asked any car enthusiast what defined the ultimate driving machine, the answer was almost always BMW. The brand had built a reputation on razor-sharp handling, precise rear-wheel drive balance, and motorsport pedigree, especially with its widely popular 3 Series and M Division cars. But while BMW stayed the course with its traditional formula, Audi had blindsided the industry with a technological curveball: Quattro all-wheel drive. At first, BMW didn't flinch. The company dismissed all-wheel drive as a niche feature, useful in snow but unnecessary for real drivers. After all, its rear-wheel drive cars were lighter, simpler, and offered a pure connection between man and machine. But Audi's WRC dominance wasn't just earning trophies, it was shifting public perception. Suddenly, car buyers and motorsport fans alike were questioning why performance should be limited to dry tarmac. Quattro wasn't just about going fast, it was about going fast anywhere. Rain, snow, gravel, or twisty back roads. Conditions that once exposed rear-wheel drive's limitations were now playgrounds for Audi. Even in the consumer market, the Quattro advantage was tangible. Drivers in colder climates embraced the confidence all-wheel drive delivered. Reviewers raved about how Audi's cars seemed unfazed by conditions that would leave others floundering, and slowly that niche technology began reshaping the entire segment. BMW couldn't ignore the shift for long. In the 1990s, the company finally began developing its own all-wheel drive system, not for off-roaders or SUVs, but for its bread-and-butter sedans. The first all-wheel drive BMW 3 Series, the E30 325iX, appeared in 1985, but it was more of an experiment than a core product. It wasn't until 2003, with the introduction of xDrive, that BMW finally embraced all-wheel drive as part of its identity. Unlike Quattro, which was based on a permanent mechanical system, xDrive was a dynamic all-wheel drive setup that could distribute torque between the front and rear axles based on traction demands. It was advanced, yes, but it was also a clear sign that Audi's influence had changed the game. And Audi didn't stop innovating. Over the years, Quattro evolved from a rally-born drivetrain into a symbol of the brand's engineering prowess. Variants like Quattro Ultra introduced efficiency-minded all-wheel drive that could disconnect the rear axle when not needed, while torque vectoring and sport differential options made modern Audis more agile and responsive than ever before. Even high-performance RS models leaned into the all-wheel drive advantage, demolishing 0 to 60 times that would have been unthinkable in the rear-wheel drive era. Meanwhile, the legacy of Quattro loomed large. It had permanently altered the DNA of performance driving. Perhaps the greatest irony is that in trying to outmaneuver BMW and stake its own claim in the performance world, Audi didn't just match its Bavarian rival, it forced it to evolve.